What is up, everybody? Happy Friday, July 15th. I'm Reed Wallach. Alongside me is Donnavan Smoot. Daily Betslip, getting you ready for the weekend. Loaded show. Game of the night, Red Sox, Yankees, little pre-All-Star rivalry series going down in the Bronx. Got bad beats coming up in a few minutes. Of course, best bets and some NBA free agency talk after we finally had some actual movement. People were actually signed that mattered to the NBA in DeAndre Ayton. So loaded show. But Donovan, what's up, man? How you doing? Happy Friday.
What's going on, man? Listen, we got a packed show today. I'm really excited, especially for all the free agency talk. This is gonna be very fun.
Yeah. So I did a bunch of free agency talk with Peter, about 2 weeks ago leading up to free agency. There hasn't been as much movement. It's been a lot of speculation, obviously, with like Kevin Durant's trade request, now Donovan Mitchell's trade request. So me and you especially, we haven't really sat down and kind of sifted through everything. So I'm pumped to get into that. But let's get right into the show. Bad beat of the day. I don't even know if this is a bad beat, but this is just tough luck, if anything. Just really, I'll call it a bad beat. But Mariners, Rangers from last night. Rangers led 5-1 through 6. Mariners tack on 2 in the 7th, then explode for 3 in the 8th. They take a 6-5 lead. Cash is minus 130, plus 115 underdogs, actually. Rangers were minus 130. Game goes over 8, of course. The Mariners have now won 11 straight, pushing into the AL wildcard race. They have the AL Rookie of the Year favorite in Julio Rodriguez. I mean, Donovan, Mariners, any sort of takeaway here? Do you think they could maybe be like a stealth contender come playoff time?
I don't know. They
11
are.
win streak. That's nothing to, that's legit right there.
Yeah. Listen, I think with the Mariners, like when you look at everything that they've done, um, they're obviously like they're not gonna be able to catch the Astros in the West. Like the Astros basically have that locked up. They're 11 games up, but they're in a really good position in the wild card race. They're 4.5 games up on the Blue Jays. They have a lot of talent. I think that they can make a little bit of noise. It's actually interesting though. I am fading Robbie Ray a little, bonus pick, I guess. I'm fading Robbie Ray tonight though. I'm going under 7.5 strikeouts with him,
Yeah.
but I do think that they have a little bit of potential once October comes around.
Yeah, I mean, this lineup, Julio Rodriguez, I'm on him to win AL Rookie of the Year. He's now like the overwhelming favorite. I think he's like minus 300 or something now. But this Mariners offense is starting to click at the right time. And listen, if Ray is able to find his form from last year, his Cy Young season, I mean, this pitching staff is legit. It's young. And this is a front office that has proven to be aggressive come the trade deadline. So Mariners, 11-game win streak might not sustain itself, but when you're getting, it feels like when it's going good, it's going really good, and you're coming back against the Rangers on the road like that. So a 6-5 win for the Mariners, tough if you laid it with the Rangers, though, at minus 130. But, get back on the saddle. Donovan's fading the Mariners tonight. Maybe it's time to get off the Mariners wagon. Let's transition into best bets with some of our Twitter responses. We got 3 picks each, but we're going to start with our best bets. We were able to respond on Twitter. 2 baseball picks. First up, we got the St. Louis Cardinals. We just want to pull that graphic. St. Louis Cardinals from noted viewer Pump and Swag 33. He's on the Cardinals money line minus 145 against the Reds. Got a game previews up on BetSided. The over looked attractive with Hunter Green, flame-throwing rookie for the Reds on the mound, but he also has allowed the most home runs in the big leagues this year. So maybe the over. Donovan, any thoughts here on Pump and Swag 33's play on Cards money line?
Yeah, no, the Cardinals. The series is really interesting because it's actually a 6-game series that they have with the Reds coming up, which is absolutely insane. But if you're talking about a team that is trying to make a push to get back into the divisional lead, you can't really get much better than playing the second worst team in the National League. But I like the pick. I think Cincinnati is slightly dangerous. They're coming off of a series win against the Yankees of all teams, but I still think that St. Louis is the team to back.
Yeah. Speaking of the Yankees, I believe our second Twitter response is on the Yankees. Yes, at Lil Wyatt Pimpin, going with the Yanks money line against the Red Sox. Obviously, our game of the night. So we won't reveal too much as to what we're on in this one. About like 5:35, 5:40, we will get into Yankees, Red Sox. But Yankees, losers of 6 of their last 10. Maybe in the All-Star break a little bit. They struggled, like you said, against the Reds earlier this week, losing 2 of 3, and they had to go to extra innings to get the lone victory. So maybe the Yankees are eyeing the All-Star break. They're -160 favorites currently against the Red Sox. Donovan, without giving away too much of what you're on, any thoughts here?
Yeah, I think what you said about the Yankees got an eye on the All-Star break is very true. You get a team that's just so much better right now than every other team in the majors. And maybe this is the series where they can actually pick back up. Obviously, you're playing your historic rival. If you're able to get a little bit of juice, and even as great as the season has gone, you never want to go into the All-Star break on a bad note. So maybe this is the series where they can actually, turn things around.
Yeah, Yankees obviously lost last weekend to the Red Sox in Boston, so maybe a little bit of a revenge angle there. Now time for our best bets. Donovan, I know you got 1 MLB play, 2 WNBA plays. So let's start with on the diamond. What are you eyeing?
Yeah, so I'm going with the Brewers money line in this one, and I'm changing my tune a little bit because I picked the Giants last night. I was back in Rodon. Things didn't really happen. It's because Corbin Burns came out and pitched a fantastic game. He went seven and a third, had 10 strikeouts. And tonight, Milwaukee, they're putting Brandon Woodruff on the mound, and he's had a very solid last 5 starts. He's only allowed 6 earned runs in that span, has 37 strikeouts, and he's only given up 2 home runs, in that span as well. So I really like Woodruff to come out and put the Brewers in a situation. I was very tempted to take them on the run line, but I think that San Francisco is going to be able to keep it kind of close over the last 7 days. And so that's 6 games for the Giants. They have the second best OPS in baseball, right? So the bats are swinging. So I think Woodruff is going to be able to do his thing, and he's still going to be able to shine. But the Giants bats are just they're on fire right now. So I'm gonna give them a little bit credit, and I'll just take the Brewers on the money line tonight.
Yeah, I'm with it. Brewers, one of the hotter teams in the NL now in the Central lead. Obviously, we're just talking about the Cardinals, so don't hate there. I got 2 baseball plays. I did 3 underdogs on my last show Wednesday. Did all right. I split it up. I basically ended up breaking even. I think I lost like a few dollars here and there, but good idea. I got 2 more underdogs. I got first up the Pirates money line against the Rockies. The Rockies do hit lefties very well, and they are facing Jose Quintana. Rockies second in batting average against lefties, but I'm not that scared when I see the Pirates offense going up against German Marquez. Marquez has allowed the most earned runs in baseball this season with 61 and really struggles with the long ball. Has allowed top 5 most home runs this season. The Pirates, since the beginning of June, 8th most home runs as a team. I think they're going to be able to get to Marquez, get to a bad bullpen. Quintana on the other side, kind of a career renaissance, 3.39 ERA. His FIP is right in that mix as well. I think that he's generating enough soft contact to avoid the altitude of Colorado and could get a quality start here. So I like the Pirates as underdogs. I'm also going to take the White Sox money line +120 against the Twins. They won 12-2 last night. Michael Kopech is starting to look a little worse for wear, but I need to fade Devin Smeltzer anytime I can against this White Sox lineup. Number 1 in OPS against lefty. Smeltzer, obviously a lefty, has an ERA of 3.92, but his FIP is all the way above 5.54. Gotta fade him here. I trust Kopech. As underdogs, I think the White Sox, who are sitting 4 back of the Twins in the division, they're hungry to make up some ground going to the All-Star break. So give me the White Sox +120 in Minnesota as my second bet.
Yeah, listen, I'm very intrigued by this White Sox team.
Yeah.
We've talked all season long, and especially for like the last month or so, just about their renaissance and them trying to make a run at this wild card spot. I think that they're going to be able to make it competitive, right? So they're half a game behind the Guardians right now, and the Guardians are 2 games back of the final wild card spot. I'm with you though. I really like this pick tonight, and I think that Chicago is going to be able to get one on the road.
Yeah, maddening team to say the least this entire season. It just feels like it's like 1 step forward, 2 steps back with them. Hopefully, it's 2 steps forward and they kind of capitalize on a 12-2 victory. But I know you got 2 plays WNBA. What do the Aces play tonight?
They don't. The
Okay.
Aces still they
Oh
don't play
wow, so we
tonight.
got two new creative bets we got coming here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So the first one I'm going with the Lynx -3.5 against the Fever. And so this is basically the second worst team by record against the worst team by record. And the Fever are just they're not a good team. Like I can't really say it any other way. Um, and so I think that Minnesota is going to be able to come in and beat the worst team in the league. And over the last 9 games, Minnesota, they've really turned into kind of a competent team. They started off the season very, struggling very, very heavily, but they're 6-3 in their last 9. The offense has turned around. They're now fourth in overall offensive rating, and they've scored over 100 points in 2 of the last 4 games. So even though that their defense is still like a little suspect, I trust Minnesota to do their job more than the Fever, who are last in defensive rating and second to last in offensive rating. So I'll take the Lynx -3.5 in that one. And then my second bet in the WNBA tonight, I'm taking the Sun -7.5. Right, I backed the Sun as 9.5 point favorites against the Fever. A couple nights ago, got burned, but I'm hopping right back on the bandwagon just because the Sun, when they're on, they are one of the best teams in the WNBA, right? They're very efficient. They're top 3 in offensive and defensive rating. They have the third best net rating in the league. And Atlanta is the worst offensive team in the league, right? The only thing that they have going for them is the fact that they play at a very, very high pace. But I think that with their bad offense and the efficiency that Connecticut is able to, control the entire game with, that a fast pace kind of it lends itself to being an advantage for Connecticut. So I'll take the Sun -7.5, which is actually a bucking of the trend because they're 3-7 against the spread in their last 10 games, and so I'm gonna expect a little bit of positive regression from a team that statistically is one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea, great handicap. I'm totally with you. So let's pull up that recap graphic, go through our best bets for Friday. We got Donovan. Oh, I'm sorry. I totally just skipped over my play. I was talking about Friday night, but UFC tomorrow night, of course, main event, Brian Ortega, Yair Rodriguez. I'm going with Ortega. He has moved out to a pretty substantial favorite, -180, but I do think that there's still room to go on this line. Ortega looked the part of a championship contender against Alexander Volkanovski, nearly finished him during that fight, but he ultimately lost a considerable decision. No harm there. He's super durable, though. I mean, guy has just taken a beating and doesn't seem phased. Faces Yair Rodriguez, who came off his first fight since fighting in 2019, lost to Max Holloway, also a convincing decision loss. And you just go down the list, beat Jeremy Stevens prior to his layoff. After there was a no contest, Stevens is now not in the promotion anymore. Needed a last-second knockout over the Korean Zombie to beat him in his last fight, literally in the final second of a 5-round fight. He was going to lose. Got finished by Frankie Edgar. I don't see really any cause for backing Rodriguez. I think Ortega is going to steamroll him. So I'll lay the juice. I typically don't like doing that, but at -180, I still think that's a fair price. So now let's bring up that recap graphic and go through our bets for this weekend. I am on 2 MLB underdogs, Pirates +126, White Sox +120, and then tomorrow, Brian Ortega -180. Early UFC start time, so nothing like some breakfast and fights tomorrow with the UFC being in Long Island. Donovan, he's one baseball play, the Brewers -124, and then he is on the Lynx -3.5 and Sun -7.5 for some Friday night hoops action for Donovan. And now let's get into some NBA talk because we finally had some movement there. We'll start with the DeAndre Ayton story and kind of loop that all into, I guess, the Kevin Durant stuff. And then we'll touch on Donovan Mitchell and his looming trade to what seems like the New York Knicks, but we'll talk about that. So let's start. DeAndre Ayton signs the 4-year, $133 million offer sheet from the Pacers after kind of this long standoff with the Suns. No one knew it was going to happen. The Suns immediately matched, which I was somewhat surprised about. It seemed like the Suns were cool letting him go. Eventually, they decided he's worth it. They're now going to go into the tax to keep Ayton. Ayton cannot be traded until January. He can veto any trade. He can't be traded to the Pacers. Kind of takes the Suns out of the Kevin Durant sweepstakes, which is still a standing trade request with Durant. So, Donovan, I ask you first, what do you think about the Suns off season as a whole. They're going to run this back, it seems. And then I'll ask you on what do you think? What do you make of the Kevin Durant sweepstakes now that the Suns are seemingly out of it?
Yeah.
At
So
least let me rephrase, because they're out of it for now, but they're probably out of it until January. For right now, they're out of it.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah.
So for the Suns, I think that this offseason, so you signed Ayton back, so it's not a disaster, but you are showing the league just how much of a dumpster fire your front office is, because this is just terrible. It's just terrible. Not only like asset management, but just like relationship management. Because if you're going to, like you said, if you're going to immediately sign Ayton, who signed the largest offer sheet in NBA history, you should have offered him the extension a year ago so that you can at least keep your chemistry up. And you went through this entire season. And listen, everybody said as soon as they got rocked by Dallas, something had to happen. And it was maybe that team was split apart then, but it's terrible for them to do things the way that they did. So that's one on the Ayton front. They're smart in the sense that you re-sign Ayton, you trade him in January because you clearly don't want him at that price, so you can get some assets back. But I don't know if Kevin Durant is going to be traded. I think if he's going to be traded, it's going to have to be this offseason, and I don't see that happening because with the Rudy Gobert trade happening 2 weeks ago, the price of a superstar of Kevin Durant's caliber is so high that nobody has the chips to go do it. And if you do pay that price, then your team is decimated, and there's no point in having a Kevin Durant if you're not going to have, the pieces around him. So I think that for the Suns, they're going to have to figure out a way to kind of keep everything together, and it would probably behoove them to keep Ayton for an entire year because you have this core of CP3, Devin Booker, and Ayton, and this probably is going to be the last time that you have a real shot to get back to the NBA Finals. And if you let Ayton go and you have an older Chris Paul, like what's Chris Paul going to look like in 2 years? They're just not thinking straight, and so I'm not a fan of what they've done.
Yeah, it does feel like they kind of fumbled this whole offseason, right? Like I definitely think, and you look at the Western Conference, in my opinion, they improved. I don't think it's like they're out of reach or anything, but like this Suns team, especially the way they flamed out, didn't feel like this felt like there needed to be a shakeup of sorts, needed to be kind of an aggressive, even if you think it's swapping out Ayton, who seemingly ruffled some feathers in that Game 7 loss. It seemed like he was on his way out. Even if that means sign and trade for Miles Turner or something, it just felt like running this back wasn't going to cut it, and that's what they're doing. It seemed like they were in on the Durant sweepstakes. They're not. I don't really see it with this team. When I see a Denver team that got better, if you want to throw in Minnesota, also got better. I'm not saying they're a contender, but they got better for sure. They got Rudy Gobert. I mean, the Clippers are going to be healthy. Ideally, LeBron and AD are healthy. Maybe Kyrie plays for the Lakers. Like the West got better, and it feels like the Suns, that was kind of their ceiling. They made their run, and now running it back, I don't know, doesn't sit right with me. It seemed like they were in on Durant, but they didn't really have the package necessary. It would have to be rerouting Ayton somewhere else and, rerouting everything else back to Brooklyn to make the deal satisfactory. So I never thought they were that serious of a contender to get Durant, just that Durant wanted to go there. So the Nets didn't owe it to Phoenix to make a move like that. And now they're kind of done. And again, I look at this roster. It just doesn't really look like a championship contender to me. You mentioned Chris Paul in 2 years. What about this year? Like, we don't know. I know he's coming off a great year, but we don't know what's going to happen. Any day now, his skill set could diminish. I mean, he is an undersized guard. He's a great player, but you never know when it's going to go. So interesting that they ended up signing and matching so quickly and kind of forcing themselves into a position. But, we'll see where it goes. As it stands with the Nets, it is trending in the direction, at least right now, that they are going to hold on to Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. I would say Kevin Durant more likely than Kyrie Irving. Trade-wise still stands. We'll see what happens. Summer League has come and go. It seems like the Nets are not impressed by any offers. Donnavan, where do you see this going? Do you see a deal working itself out in late July, in August, or do you see this dragging out the training camp? And I guess I'll phrase it, what team is Kevin Durant playing for opening night of the NBA season?
Opening night, Kevin Durant.
I'll also say, is he sitting on his couch? That is
No,
also like his couch is a team here.
no. Kevin Durant is a guy who just wants to play basketball, so he's never just going to sit out a season. I think that he plays for the Nets opening night. I think if there is going to be a deal made, it has to be the Toronto Raptors. I think that even if Brooklyn doesn't get back everything that they're asking for, which apparently is OG Scotty Barnes and Pascal Siakam and 5 picks or whatever, they're just asking for basically the whole team. Even if you just get, one of those three, the salary fillers and a whole bunch of picks, that's fantastic. And that's probably the best that you're going to get. And for them, I think that the Nets need to realize this whole Kevin Durant, Kyrie era, it's done. It's over, right? You're never gonna have the momentum that you had in 2019 or in 2020 where everything is going good. The entire thing is falling apart. They need to look forward to the future, start looking about building around Ben Simmons, who the last time that we saw, mind you, I understand that the Hawk series, but he was a 24-year-old all NBA point guard, right? Or all defensive team. He's an all-star. They need to start building towards the future and what is this team going to look like in 3 years. I think if you trade Durant and you're able to get a Scotty Barnes or an OG, maybe even get a Pascal Siakam to pair next to Ben Simmons, see what kind of haul you can get for Kyrie Irving, that's kind of the way to go. But as for Durant, I think he starts the season out with the Nets.
Yeah, and I understand the whole this bridge is kind of gone and whatever, but as a Nets fan, as a season ticket holder,
It's over. Don't trick yourself.
I can't support that because you signed up for this, you ran the risk. Like, you are in the business to win championships. To Joe Tsai, it clearly seems like he's just trying to, this is another investment for him. He doesn't seem to really care that much. He would rather get back the culture of his team, but ultimately, I just don't see how you justify, because the package isn't coming out, I don't see how you justify trading Kevin Durant for 60 cents on the dollar and Kyrie Irving for 10 cents on the dollar and say, here's our new team, whatever. The superstar package, it's not coming because people don't think they have leverage. So the Nets, they do not owe a pick to the Rockets. It's a swap. So if Durant wants to sit out, that's fine. I don't really care. They're getting a lottery pick anyway. I think they need to try and put their ego to the side and this pissing contest and say, hey, we need to work together because we actually have a very good roster that can contend in the Eastern Conference. And let's try and give one more crack at that, because I do know this, that these guys change, when they start winning. It's very easy when you're winning to, we'll work this out. When you're losing, it's bad. And they got swept and it was embarrassing. And, Kyrie did whatever he did in the Nets. They fumbled everything. I understand. But you can't tell me if this team plays it out and tries to build it together, they can't rattle off 50-plus wins in the regular season and be, at the very least, seen as a viable threat to come out of these. I'm not going to say they're the favorites. I'm not going to say that they're the title. They should be like the odds-on favor or something. But would it be the craziest thing in the world if they got off to a hot start, they run this back, and they start building chemistry? This is definitely the best option for Kevin Durant, in my opinion.
It would be crazy. And one thing that I think,
is that because of roster construction, or you think because of like emotional side story stuff?
Emotional side
roster,
stuff.
though, just looking at the roster itself.
I mean, if Ben Simmons is healthy, then I can see it. But we also haven't seen Ben Simmons in a long time either. And one thing that I think hasn't been talked about enough is, Kevin Durant has 4 years left on his contract. He doesn't have an option. Does he play for all 4 years? Does he play until the end of his contract? Kevin Durant's 34 years old, right? Like, how long do we think that Kevin Durant is gonna play? Like, I don't think Kevin Durant plays the next 4 years in the NBA. I think he might retire at 37. So if your team's looking at that, why would I give up a 21-year-old Scotty Barnes, a 24-year-old Donovan Mitchell, players of that nature, for a guy that's not going to be here in 3 years?
So
in terms of trading the farm to go get Durant and trading all these picks for 5 years, 6 years down the road, and Durant's not going to be here, I'm going to need my picks to rebuild. So I think that's kind of like an under the radar thing that people haven't really been talking about. But So, but I do think,
I think very valid point. I don't
yeah,
think he would retire, but I do think it's a concern why people aren't giving up the farm, whether he retires or his play diminishes to where he's not worth the money. That's why I think if you're the Nets, you can't just sell now just because the timing, like you need to at least drag this out because, like I said, what if they do come out and start the season 13-3 or something? They're playing great. They found something. They realized that, hey, we could actually win one. We could do something this season. So, to me, there is a little bit of winning cures all, but also you don't know what's going to happen in the NBA season. Someone might get hurt. Some team might, stumble on something and say, hey, we think we could contend. We're going to go in now actually and get Kevin Durant. Like just selling in July, just because you want to rid yourself of this sort of issue, to me, that's not prudent decision making. Like at least move this into the season because you don't know what's going to happen come December, come the trade deadline. Like when those contracts that were just signed, they become available to trade in December 15th. You don't know what the packages are going to be. Maybe, another superstar gets disgruntled and he wants out. Like things happen. And right now we're pretty static outside of Donovan Mitchell. I'm going to segue actually, but outside of Donovan Mitchell thing, but like you don't know what's going to happen. And I think the Nets would be prudent to drag this out a little bit further and also say, hey, Kevin, let's have a sit-down conversation, see how can we actually fix this because you are one of the 10 best players in the league. I would put for my money one of the 3 best players in the league. We can win one with you. How do we make this right? On both terms. How do we actually do this? So enough on me crying about Kevin Durant. Let's talk about the New York Knicks and Donovan Mitchell. The Jazz seem to be asking for my arm and a leg to get from the Knicks to get Donovan Mitchell. I saw a report they were asking for 6 ones and a whole mess of prospects, not including RJ Barrett, which I think is pretty notable. They are not asking for Barrett in a deal. Donovan, what are your thoughts on the current state of the negotiations? Do you think it's eventually going to be the Knicks getting Donovan Mitchell, or do you think that this is kind of it's still an open dialogue between teams?
I think it's probably still an open dialogue. I think if the Knicks were a little bit closer to forget a championship, they were a little bit closer to being a top 4 seed in the Eastern Conference, then this deal would probably be done by now. But the Knicks missed the play-in last year, right? They weren't in the playoffs. You have a backcourt now, or a potential backcourt of Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell, which defensively is going to be absolutely terrible. You still have Julius Randle, who is thinking that he's, the guy on the team. How does that work with Donovan Mitchell? There's a lot going into it. Like you said, the most notable part for me was that RJ Barrett wasn't in the deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if the Knicks can keep RJ, and maybe if the asking price is 6 ones, sneak it down to 5 ones, that's the way
crazy.
to go.
So crazy. We're haggling over like 5 first-round picks. Kids in like a sophomore in high school that's going to be drafted with these picks.
Exactly.
Oh, younger, 8th grade.
Yeah, but listen, I mean listen, as a Knicks fan, what I do not want to happen is for the Knicks to kind of run the Carmelo Anthony trade back again, to where they absolutely fleeced themselves by giving up the entire farm to go get Carmelo, and then once he got there, they didn't have enough help. And if you do the same for Mitchell, and let's say that this doesn't go the way that you want, now you don't have any assets to kind of move away from this, situation. But if you can get Donovan Mitchell, and I know that a lot of people have kind of soured on him because of his play style, and he's a volume scorer. He's still a 25-year-old all-star, and those kind of guys don't grow on trees. And so it would be beneficial for the Knicks to go get a guy like him. It would be very interesting if they could have Brunson, Mitchell, Barrett, who's improving every single year, Randall and Mitchell Robinson. I'm just wondering about the depth for the Knicks if they go and make this deal.
Yeah, I actually feel like I'm higher on Donovan Mitchell than the public. I don't love the fit next to Jalen Brunson. I like RJ Barrett, so if the Knicks are able to keep RJ Barrett, that's great. Again, it feels like they're pushing for the middle, but it feels like they're already on that path. So like there's no turning back. You just signed Jalen Brunson to this deal. So listen, I'm not going to hate on it because I see what they're going for. It feels like they cap out at like the Trailblazers East with like Dame and CJ. So I don't think this makes the Knicks like some instant contender, but hey, You get the first star, you could hopefully turn into the second star. The Knicks have surplus assets. I see what they're going for, and listen, they want their guy. They're probably going to end up getting him. It
And
feels
look, here's the thing too. If you get Donovan Mitchell and you're able to secure yourself a younger star, Julius Randle, count your days. Count your days, Julius Randle.
Listen,
because we are going to get you up out the paint. If Donovan Mitchell comes to the Knicks, Julius Randle is gonna be traded, because then they will finally have a star that they can lean back on and try to get off of his contract. So that Julius Randle's probably the only one who doesn't want Donovan Mitchell in the building, because he knows what that means for him. But if you're the Knicks and you're able to maybe get a couple first round picks back for Julius Randle, you send him to like Indiana or something, send him to Sacramento, and everything would be okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, it feels like a push for the middle, but I'm not going to like say this is some terrible deal, because again, it's surplus assets. A lot of the picks the Knicks have are protected outside of their own. Like the picks they've acquired are protected. So I think that while they are good, it's a lot of volume. None of them are going to yield top 3, top 2 picks anyway, because they're all so well protected. So I do wonder if they're going to have to be forced to give up a lot of their own picks. Because they have so many. But, I think the details of the trade would be very important. I do think eventually they are on a collision course, and this is going to be the best deal. The only thing that, in my opinion, could really change that is if someone puts out on the market a prospect that the Jazz and Danny Ainge really like, which I just don't see that happening. It seems like Danny Ainge wants to hoard picks. He wants the most picks available. He's going to get it from the Knicks eventually. He's just dragging this out a little bit like he always does. So I do think Donovan Mitchell will eventually be a Knick, and probably for a substantial haul at that. So Knicks get their guy, a 4 or 5 seed. It's cool. Hey, listen, it's better than it's been for most times. So I can't hate on it, but like, I'm not going to subscribe to like contender talk. There'll be a team that scores a lot of points and let up as many as they score. But anyway, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm throwing like half shade because there's nothing wrong with that. But let's transition back to baseball, back to tangible, actual betting information. Red Sox, Yankees tonight, going down the Bronx. Just played last week. Yankees minus 160 favorites. The Red Sox now sitting at plus 150. Total at 8. Jordan Montgomery, Nathan Eovaldi for the Red Sox coming off the IL. Donovan, what's your look in this game?
I am going to take the Yankees not only to win, but to cover as well. They haven't covered in their last 5 games. The last time that they did was a week ago today against the Red Sox. They won 12-5. But I think that, like I was saying earlier, you want to go into the All-Star break with a little bit of momentum. And I think that New York is going to be able to do that. They're at home this time. Jordan Montgomery is he's on the mound, and he had a pretty solid outing in his last game against the Red Sox. He pitched 5 2/3, had 4 strikeouts, but only 2 earned runs, and he did give up a homer. But the 2 earned runs is the really big thing. So I think that the Yankees are they're gonna figure out how to get back on track today.
Yeah, I mean, I am on the other side. I like the Red Sox. I see what you're saying, though, with the Yankees trying to get back on the right foot. They have kind of slowed up a little bit going into the break, as I mentioned. I am on Boston, though, plus 142. I just kind of like the price. Red Sox do really, really good against left-handers, top 5 in all advanced hitting metrics, like weighted runs created plus. Red Sox had a bit of a skid, though. They lost 8 of the last 10 road games, so trying to bounce back a little bit. Again, this is a price. I think people are kind of doubting Nathan Eovaldi off the IL. I just like the Red Sox against the lefty. And just feels like the Yankees, to me, seems like a bit of a regression coming in. I've kind of been saying, like, they just keep pulling wins out from left and right. So they'll probably come back and win this one too. But I'll take the Red Sox on the money line. Unfortunately for me, though, I am on an island here. Lil White Pimpin from earlier likes the Yankees. Donovan likes the Yankees on the run line. The community has spoken. They also like the Yankees on the money line, minus 160 at home with Jordan Montgomery on the mound. So Donovan, a little extra incentive for you to sprinkle. For me, I am, with my hands tied here. I'm on the opposite of everyone. But yeah, so there's our show. Great weekend. Donovan, great show. And everyone. We got best bets earlier if you want to go back. If you like this content, though, make sure you go right below us right there. Just hit the subscribe button. We'll be back on Monday. Let me see who is on. Oh, it is another 4 o'clock show with Ben and the returning Peter Dewey. He will tell us all about his vacation. Me and Donovan, we are still not taking a vacation just yet, maybe a little soon. But everyone, have a great weekend. May all your bets hit, and we will see you on Monday.